My name's Frank Jones. I'm currently living up on the Atherton Tablelands. I grew up in South Brisbane, a House Commission area called Woodridge.
Why is it important for a dad to be there for his children? So important. You know, like, I don't take anything away from mothers or women in general, but especially with young men and boys. You need a rock, you need a dad. I grew up, I've never actually called anyone dad to their face in my entire life. I'm now 53 years old and it still hurts. Yeah. Talk a little bit more about the environment you grew up in.
Well, I was born in Melbourne and things were pretty good there, you know, until I was about 5. Mum left Victoria and moved to Queensland in the very early 70s. And we moved into a housing project called Woodridge, and it was one of the first House Commission areas. In my experience, in my street, I can remember it vividly, there was 48 houses in my street, and I can remember there was 2 houses with fathers. So when you're in a really large community, then there's no fathers to give support, love, boundaries and discipline. All the young men got together and started getting into gangs and all the rest of it. So yeah, that's sort of like where it all started. I learned very early in my life as a young boy, the easiest way not to be bullied was to become a bully yourself. So I started doing a lot of martial arts and different sorts of stuff like that, and I got really, really good at it. So I became a huge bully myself. And unfortunately, I ended up getting a reputation, and one of the worst parts about having a reputation was living up to that reputation. It was all violence. I ended up going into boys' homes, detention centres. Williamstown, there was just numerous of them, and unfortunately towards the end I was even too violent for them. That's when I ended up in prison. And it was one of the worst prisons in Queensland called Bogorow Jail. I learned very quick after that I was never going to go back to prison. And that was the last time I ever got locked up in prison. That at the time, you know, you think you're doing really good and all the rest of it. Well, guess what? You're not. So then, you know, like, you get to the stage of the game which you got the reputation, you're using drugs. That I can remember the day where the penny dropped when I was invited to a big bike club's house, and I was taken downstairs and I was showed all their wares, and there was a lot of it. I realised then and then on the spot that they owned me. And then they offered me a big bag of narcotics, and I sold them, and before I knew it I was, you know, selling thousands and thousands of dollars worth of drugs every week. The first bag that I mentioned that I got of the drugs, they didn't charge me for it, they gave it to me. After selling that bag, it's quite a few $1,000s, so I was only young and I had a lot of money, a lot of respect. I don't even say if you'd call it respect, it was more fear, yeah. And then within a heartbeat, you know, I had, you know, you went from having a lot of money, a lot of fear, a lot of respect, to having absolutely nothing, because as quick as Satan gives it to you, the minute you don't look, he takes it all off you, and tenfold. And then before I knew it, I was 8.5 stone, laying in a puddle of my own urine with a gun up to my face, basically saying, where's all my money, and we're going to kill you. So then I had one bike club pay my debt so I could go and work for another bike club. Without me knowing about it, my mother's come to the Lord, and she had a large prayer group. My testimony all goes back to the power of prayer, because my mum and her group never, ever gave up on me. They prayed for me and they prayed for me. And it got to the stage of the game, everywhere I went, the Lord was looking at me. Not that I liked it at the time, to be truthful, I hated it. I went to church in the late 90s. It was the year of 98. I gave my heart to the Lord. And I gave it up to Jesus. That's not the end of my story, because I backslid again. I have to admit, the drugs was never much of a problem after that. They hurt me and took so much away from me, I was never going to go back there, but I replaced it with alcohol. And a righteous thought about it all. I moved to far north Queensland, where I'm living now. Met a partner in a pub, drinking alcohol. We had 3 kids together. And even when she was pregnant, alcohol was the thing. I used to work fairly hard. And I always had the opinion that it wasn't me who was pregnant, it was her who was pregnant, so I can still bring alcohol home. But when my 3 kids were removed from their mother from child safety and placed in foster care, and all diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome, which has led to ADHD, FASD, and PECA, and there's a few other mental health issues that go along with it. For a long time there, all I did was blame their mother. No one ever explained to me, fix your damn roof. No one ever really explained to me that I was the damn roof. And a father's got to lead by example. So instead of being a father, I was just a drunk. And I used to come home with my alcohol and expect her not to drink. Well, she was pregnant, but I'd still bring the alcohol home. And I've been dealing with it ever since. My kids were taken away in foster care. They were gone for 3 years. And the realisation came to me when I was watching my boys being abused by older foster children, severely abused, that I said no more. I found a gorgeous church in Gelatin Family Church, and I gave my heart back to the Lord. And through the power of prayer and no one ever actually giving up on me, I found the Lord this time. And He's given me the strength and the conviction to show up to court over 38 times to get my kids back, and I've had my kids back now for 5 or 6 years. And I'm never going to look back again, and I'm going to be that roof. I swear to God, and I'm going to be the strongest roof I can. I'm sorry. And so yeah, that's my story.
What would you say to the dad who thinks repairing the roof is hopeless?
It's not. It's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's not. It's hard, it's painful. And I heard something not long ago. A certain person told another certain person, you can't change yourself. And then sometimes you think you can, but guess what? You can't change yourself, but he left a little bit out. God can change you. The Lord can change you. And with the Lord's help and the power of prayer, yeah, you can get it. I'm living proof. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be inhaling and exhaling, but I am. And the love for my Lord and the love for my children just gets stronger and stronger every day.
So there's always hope.
Yeah, there's always hope.